like 7 hours a week in front of the computer so much, and so it's really hard to stay focused at this hour. But let's do it. Good.
Roger.
I think Gabrielle can go, and then John. John, you have a little bit more time. Maybe you can talk a little bit about yourself to the rest of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Gabrielle knows you.
You go first.
I don't know.
We're getting to know each other.
I'm good. Thanks. I'm looking forward to hanging out with Pedro if I can keep him awake after this meeting and to have the meeting we were meant to have yesterday. Yeah, and learning these tools on the time telling for the different time zones. I was thinking about yesterday. I know you're feeling good, and we know a little bit more about our plans. We know we're leaving Costa Rica now at the beginning of May, which is already planned, and then we're going to be in the UK for May, and then we're hoping to come to Portugal in June, and kind of pin down our travel plans and keen to know if there's any more plans about having a meeting and a workshop that you were talking about in June time.
We're missing a little bit your voice sometimes.
Mm.
So maybe,
yeah. I have a really quiet voice as well. I'm going to have to learn to project.
Yeah.
Speak from the diaphragm.
So we are going to be back in England in May, and then we want to come to Portugal in June. So we kind of want to plan it around if you're going to do the event, the workshop and stuff. So if you know anything more about that, then it would be really helpful. Roger.
I can go next. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good today because yesterday I had a full day's work, as in like I was on calls all day with Australia. So it's always very strange because it's there tomorrow and I'm there yesterday. But it was like quite intense, but really fun and stimulating. And so I'm really happy to today do no work at all. So that's a really great balance. So I'm good. I feel good. My sister's here. She's come to visit us, so we're going to go and do some little adventures. I bought a GoPro so that we can go and film our adventures. So I've got a toy, so that's perfect. I've got a new toy, so I feel really good. And anything about this project? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have so many questions about this project that I can't put it into one question. I think I'm at a stage where I find myself during the day, although I've not engaged much in the calls and stuff, I find myself thinking about it a lot. And then I like remind myself that so far it's a group of people chatting. There's nothing real, and I need to pause my like enthusiasm a little bit, or just like monitor the enthusiasm. So that's kind of where I stand with the project. I have like loads of passion and I have hopes and dreams, but I'm also like trying to measure my expectations and be careful, because it's a difficult thing to get going. I think what we're all trying to do. Yeah, Roger.
Peter.
I'm good.
Really?
I don't know what happened right now. Yes, I'm good. Today is sunny, so I feel a little bit better. I've been in a winter mood. Like, it has been very wintry here and stormy and rainy, so yes, and I'm good.
Those crazy people want to move from Costa Rica to the...
No, but this has been an extraordinary month, so.
Okay.
Portuguese are not built for winter.
Nope.
Something else you want to add?
What?
Something else you want to add?
Can't understand you. What?
Oh, sorry. Something else you want to add?
No, not for now, please.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good. We have someone else. India.
Hi, is this India?
Yeah.
This is India.
Hi, India. Nice to meet you.
Messi here.
Cuckoo, Indy.
How are you
5
feeling?
minutes. First 5 minutes, she pretends that she's shy, but she's not.
Ivor's like that too.
Not
No, not at all.
Does your mum have a T-shirt on that says "You are mine" on it too?
It's like in the wrong place. I always look at it and like, oh, you're right. So there's maybe a couple of things we should talk now, and then, like Gabrielle asked, we can do a really quick, for John and Gabrielle, a very quick how to play the collab way. And then we could get on to working on a few things. One of the things that we can all do together, since we're a small group today, is the timeline, which we didn't do yesterday. And that's, we can then also use this as a reason for us to organize our own timeline. Because right now we're trying to plan 2 projects at the same time, the space and the TEDx event, and moving countries and finding stay and schools and stuff. So let's
And having more babies.
yes, just that.
Just little things.
Yeah. So if you're good, what I could do, maybe the easiest for this is to share screens, and then we can do. And what I need is for Tita and Tika to guide me. And every time, Tika, even better, like every time I'm speaking too much, and
He's not really good with that.
and I'm not. I get excited and then. So I'll share a little bit about the way we work. Normally we do this with groups. There's someone who barely knows how to use a computer, and then there's someone who's amazing project manager. Since today we're more or less all fluent in this computery stuff, it's going to be easier and faster. And we don't need to talk about everything anymore, so we will learn with the doing. Okay? You're good with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's see if I can share a screen. Yes. Our screen. Don't look at my tabs. There are too many. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So we start here. So really, wait a moment. I'm making this wrong. Sorry. How did I stop? Okay, I'll do this really quick. First thing, what is collab? Collab is an approach for open collaboration. It's just a way of doing things in a certain a methodology. Okay, and that's hard to deal with. But so the best we can do is that there's a couple of principles that we govern the way we do things, and then the most important aspect of it is that for each project, for each group, the idea is that the group can design their own way of working based on those principles. Of course, every time we are involved as a team in a project, we bring our own ways, and then we propose them. And sometimes they don't work. Sometimes we need to change. Sometimes someone brings something new, and we add it. So, like open source software, it's always you have a open way of doing things, and then people can add on top, change, remix, do it again. So that's the basis of Collab. One day, if you are interested, we can talk more about it. I'm pretty sure if you stay with us a little longer, you get invitations to also participate in the Collab project. So, sorry about that. Any questions, Manuel? Starting the question while you're here.
Is there any links that you can share? I could have a look.
I will share those, but you have in the descriptions and in the docs normally you have a link saying made with Collab. If you go there as a website, it's very old because we have evolved a lot in the last few years, but has some information. And then there's a couple of Medium articles that they are more interesting, but more very connected with the Espaço Wall project. Right, so first thing, what is this thing that is the most important? So the three principles in Collab is making open, so it's about transparency and sharing. People are calling us radical transparency. We call ourselves radical collaboration, but this is maybe the thing that is newer, that we do everything open, like everything is shared, everything is there for anybody to come and watch and participate if they wish. This is maybe the one thing that makes us different from anything else. Then you have the autonomy thing. We say about applying autonomy, which means every decision we make is in the direction that every participant can have the most autonomy possible. Sometimes we can have a lot, sometimes we can have not so much. We'll try. And then the last one, which is upgrading collaboration, which means basically always being upgrade situation where we want always to get better and make things better all the time, which is one of the most frustrating aspects of our projects because they're changing so much, so often that people sometimes are getting used to something and they're like, oh, this has changed already. So we start all the projects. I'm not seeing you, so in case you want to say something, you have to yell. Just.
Okay, that's cool.
So the first thing is we started using Facebook for the reason of having so many different people that we have in every project, and sometimes we have like my mother in a project. Sometimes we have for example, the space in Óbidos, the project had the youngest. Well, we didn't really count our children, but the youngest participant was 11, and then the oldest was 79. So to find like a midway tool that everybody could use, we tried different things, but Facebook always won. And we stuck to it for a while until we find a better thing. Maybe Facebook now is going down. Oh, yeah, so the group, the discussion group, is everything. We don't really don't say we don't get a no for an answer. So the group is we don't really use it as a community or discussion group like a normal discussion group, where normally it's basically involving the community in a way of getting them motivated, or that they continue sharing about the project or participating in a, I would say, light way. So it's really like a project discussion group. So everything starts from here. We have a few things that we do that you might have noticed already. So basically is we keep all the discussion inside the group. We don't use other tools for discussion. We really like the group's discussion style because it's contextual, which means we make a post and then all the discussion about that post stays together. We use this, which was funny to see Lois using today, these hashtags on the top. The idea is just to help the search, because when you search with hashtag, you actually get much better response. And also is a way to give like a title to the post so people can more easily understand what the post is about.
Yeah, I find it really helpful.
Yeah.
It's a lot more friendly, particularly for a project like this. It feels a lot more human and friendly than Slack or something that can get a little bit too tasky and too worky.
Yeah, we tried a few times with Slack, it didn't really work.
Yeah.
For chat, for chat it works. And then I think it's better than Messenger because Messenger makes us come to Facebook and then sometimes we don't want to come to Facebook. Stay away from the notifications. And we use Slack, for example, for common. We use
a quick question, Pedro. It's not quite related to the collab process, but when you were speaking about the project in Obidush, have I said it right?
Yeah.
Obidush?
Yes.
There you had 11 to 75. Did you involve the 11-year-old in the group decision making?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, everyone will participate. Sometimes our kids tried, but they were too young then.
Yeah, but they were still like yeah. So tell me what your approach was with your kids then.
We let them be around, and they were really used to team meetings and discussion groups, and that people gathered around issues and talked about them. Sometimes they made questions about it, but when we asked, like, can you now, make a check-in, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Then actually, after the project ended, we started doing in our family.
Yeah.
Using the collab way of managing our family life, and they love their gets. We suck at it because
it's harder at home, right? Because we have like a family constitution that we all build together, but it doesn't work quite as smoothly. But I think
we're getting there.
I think him just being around an environment where even if he's not participating, but he knows that that's a thing.
Yeah.
There's a load of development and safety in that anyway. I think just the second-hand version.
Yeah, they always they had a voice if they wanted. But I think that
exactly.
They were still too young. But we always ask, do you want to participate? Or if you don't,
they're always invited to if they want to, and they can say no.
Yes.
And the older one was always around. He was listening all the time, so he knew everything, and he asked questions, and then we sometimes brought those questions to the meetings.
Okay.
And this is something we really want to bring to these projects when we're physically together. But one thing that we don't want to lose, that we lost a little bit with the other, was this one, because collab was designed in a way to that projects, open projects, always have remote participation, which is really important, especially for Peniche, because there will be times that we'll have less participation there, and we lose the opportunity of people that, for example, like you wouldn't be able to participate at all if we do it this way. Right now happens we are all remote, except Ivan, Katia, and now Veronica. those are the only local ones there. But in the future, we would like to do the local meetings, but then keep the remote connection all the time.
That was what we had in Ovidus as well, mostly.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yes, when it was needed, we did it. But
like team meetings and all that, we didn't continue having
No.
it. We lost it little by little until there was no remote participation. Yeah, but this was many years ago. Many years. This was just 3 years ago, actually. 2.5 years. It's another life. It's crazy. So continuing. So this is the project. Basically, what we ask is always to a few things that are Facebooky, but we use them, like the likes is kind of a way of saying I read. I've been here.
it's not a vote.
Yeah.
It's just to say that.
Yeah.
Even though you can see there who has seen,
Those don't work. Yeah.
but
it's a way like I've read it and really paid attention to this, and maybe I'll come and if it or not. But it's just a way. Helps a little bit also to move the group. Like if you see a lot of people interacting with the posts, then the rest feel peer pressure to go there as well. So sometimes we ask, hey, could you do this because we're not getting any attention for this. One thing about this is also what is important, not to feel the pressure to make such amazing posts. Like to look the group, there's no problem with that. It doesn't need to look nice. So any post, even if it's just one question, it's fine. Sometimes those are the best ones. So don't think a lot. Like for example, Loy's post was perfect, everything. But what she does, she's a community manager, has worked for 10 years doing this type of work. And she writes really well. And then we have always the thing of the English, not in your case, not in Loy's case, but since it's not our first language, we're fine with it. We use it daily, but in the group, we're going to have people with lower levels of English. We also need to help them with that. Always go like, hey, it's fine, it's great, I understood everything.
What's the approach to that? Because it's difficult because I think that it's in Portugal, so it feels like English should be the second language. We're the guests. Having said that, I can't speak any Portuguese at all. So if Portuguese is the first language, I can't participate. So it's a tricky one, right? Unless we always speak in both languages, like at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's hard. We always have to lose some. We understand that the way we work, we have a preference to have a common language, and that is English. But that's what happened. We didn't choose. I don't know if Portuguese would have.
Well, at some point with collab in Spasuo, we said that our language is bad English.
Yeah,
that's our official. Yes. But I think in this project, as we've talked, the city Peniche is the fisherman's town, and we will lose the local community if we don't communicate in Portuguese. That said, I think for us it's just as important to have people who are not Portuguese speaking. I don't think those go over each other's. Maybe just in case of, for example, communicating with the municipality, in more of these official things can.
No, I think
affect.
it's like the option was always, and as we learned in Ovidus, was to be a little bit radical in certain things and say like this is like it is for reasons, and the reasons are this and this and this and this, and that's why we're doing it in English. Still, we can, and nowadays it's so easy to do, or easier. We communicate first in Portuguese, but the project is managed first in English. Sometimes, when it's something really important, we translate, but most of the time, so if you want to be an active participant in the project, you should be comfortable with bad English. And then what we can do, and I already talked about this in, I think, in our first meeting, was that we might need to have separated meetings sometimes, like with all the community only in Portuguese, and then we might have someone speaking English, but then we translate a little bit like the Olympic Games. But we might those bigger ones.
Like, this is a bilingual project.
Yeah. Actually, we can even use more languages. We have had times when we had the Spanish, so she would write in half Spanish, half Portuguese, and her English was not so good, so she preferred one of those languages. It was fine. We never. I think as soon as we explain why the things are done in this way, that is not like because we want to be cool or whatever. Then they, okay, it's fine, I'll try. And I'll do my best. Some people, if you noticed already in the project, they choose just to always write in Portuguese, and it's fine. Especially because you now can translate automatically. It's getting better. Anyway, carrying on, or I'll...
Iris is just joining, I think.
So here we have the second level, which is the synchronous communication is happening in a chat, okay, where we are all. What we ask normally is that let's not have discussion inside the chat, or as soon as it starts a discussion and we think it's important, we say bring it to the group, so it stays in context. But there is really good for this stuff. Hey, where's the link? Where are you? Did you see these? What's for lunch? Type of stuff. That's it here for Facebook for today. And then the rest of it. Second tool that we use the most is Google.
I'm good. Sunny today.
You're feeling rushed. You look like you've been running from somewhere.
Yeah, I was like running back home. I met a friend, so I'm here. Sorry, I'm late.
All right. So we're doing a quick, not really quick tour of Colabway. So we went through the Facebook group. Now we're talking about Google Drive. Google Drive, what we do. Basically, everything stays inside a shared folder inside Google Drive. When I say everything is really everything, and also a lot of materials, graphic, communication, and all that stuff stays here. It's editable by everyone that is added to the drive, but it's viewable and commentable by anyone publicly, okay? Sometimes, and as the projects evolve, we might have an admin folder that we keep it only for people that are added to the folder, okay? But in a project like what we're doing with the space, we might not have that even. Sometimes only like for documents that by law, they can't be public,
like
or
bank accounts, like the codes to access to the bank account, for example.
Or for a personal identification, and we don't want to share that. But for example, in the Outer Space project we have had always in the space projects we participated. There was always the accounting was open to everyone. It was public. So every money we spent, every money we got went into a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet was public. What we never did that we wanted to, and we hope to do in this one, is to have, like in our website, a link for that directly. And that would be. We are actually using a new tool. It's called Coda, which is amazing for that type of stuff, and hopefully use that. In the Google Drive, there's always a document. It's called Project 2 Docs. The name of the project. This is we call the project doc. Okay, so everything starts there. It's basically this one. We'll be having everybody there. What we do is from on top, we always add things, notes, updates. We start writing something collaboratively here, and then we move it. If it grows too much, we move it to its own doc, but only if we need it. And when it grows, we actually then either, like I did, a context proposal doc here, then it might need its own folder afterwards. Right now we have 2 other folders. We have this assets folder which has, I thought, just maps. There's an archive which has, remember, there's 2 docs that was shared with the group before you, which they did their own feedback about. This one is also in the group. If you saw, Lois at least has already commented about it. Talked about it. There's some good things, but I copied all that feedback into the project doc. And that's it. There's nothing else. If you know how to use Google Docs, if you want to learn more about it, you can always ask each other. But basically, right now, everyone except John has edits. I didn't add John yet. Edit rights.
What do I need to do? Have I not done my work?
No.
What do I need to do?
You have to write.
I love writing documents.
But now Gabrielle can add. So anybody that has added, and then add anybody else. Okay. For editing, but anybody can comment or make suggestions, all that stuff.
Maybe something that we do a little bit differently is that every time someone writes something and you want to go and edit it, or even yourself, we don't delete anything. We start either writing that text or then write on top another version, so that all the versions normally stay there. Just because, like, if we delete, we might lose something that we can use later, or
no censorship.
Yeah. We then can go. There's any questions right now? Anything you want to add? Too fast? No, it's fine. Right. So third thing we use is this Trello. Some of you have used it before. It's just a task management tool. So basically, it's a bunch of lists with a bunch of cards. That's how we call them. And the cards are basically the to-do, the actions, the projects. Okay. The way we use it is the most basic use of Trello, which is the Kanban system. So basically, you got lists, three lists: a to-do, a doing, and a done. Inside the to-do, we add all the tasks we want to happen. The doing, someone gets the task, adds itself the task, or assigns themselves to the task, and then add the dates and the due date. So basically, for example, here, Pika is in the team meeting tasks. So basically, she's managing the tasks. It's not supposed for her to make a team meeting, okay? She's just managing that it happens. the due date is the hour where the task is supposed to happen. That is not the date where the task is supposed to be done. Okay. So because sometimes the task takes several days, several times, and for you to get for Trello to be of any use, and you get notifications and reminded of the tasks, you have to add the date where you are expecting to work on that task.
Just that, for example, you don't get a task, a reminder on a date that you're supposed to deliver it, for example.
Yeah.
Imagine filling up an IRS, and then you're like, okay, I have 3 hours to fill it. Better to put some time.
I think when we're doing the timeline, then we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So I'm not going to talk about it. But there's here, it's very easy. So you click here, you add the member. Right now we have just missing here Lois and John. We due date, same, check calendar, change. You can add checklists. In the checklist, you can change the documents, so you can have subtasks, stuff like that. You can add attachments. One note is about discussion. So let's not discuss the tasks here. What we can do is, if you're using the Chrome, like using any browser, you get the URL and copy that URL. And if you then paste it in the group, you immediately get the link to the task. Then you can discuss that task. Like, I don't really understand this task. What is to do? And then we can discuss there. There's, of course, comments inside Trello. The problem with comments in Trello is the notifications are not great, and nobody else gets them. So inside the discussion group, everybody's watching. And we can always learn with those questions. When it's done...
So did you say if you add a comment, then it doesn't automatically notify the person? You have to act.
It might, but it's kind of Trello notifications suck. Is the worst thing of Trello. But even then, even if you always have that problem of, like, for example, if you remember, we had you made a comment about the timeline.
Yeah.
I responded.
Yeah.
And then, but nobody else saw that.
Okay.
So nobody else knows about that.
Okay.
And so there's always if we do it the correct way, there's always the possibility of someone else coming in and say, hey, I know how to do that, I could help.
Mm-hmm.
But if we keep discussion here, there's no possibility of that happening. It's done. If it's done, you can open the task, you can click on the due date, gets green, and then you can move the task to the done pile. I feel good about that. In these ones that have a blue mark, if you click on them, they show pin. Basically, it's tasks that are recurrent, and so we don't really move them to the done. We just change the date. So, in the end of the time of the team meeting, we'll come here, change the dates, and add another person to
be responsible of next week's team meeting.
One last thing about tasks. So we create a task and we say, like, I created this one today. Add a pretty picture to your Trello profile. Okay? So if you see that
it's really gross. Can I add a gross one too?
If you see the sentence is written starting with an action, so it always starts with the verb, so people know exactly what they're doing. So instead of saying Trello profile picture, which then you didn't know what to do with it, I wrote add a pretty picture to your Trello profile, and then you suddenly understand the task. So basically, always start with the verb, and then you know what to do. These team tasks, sometimes team meeting in office hours don't need that, so we keep it here. And then one last thing, we have this next list. The next list is things that are kind of like back burners. We might get into them, might not, maybe they stay there as an idea. But when we have our to-do empty, we can always go there and move them to the to-do list. But if we would have them all in the to-do list, we would get overwhelmed and not very popular.
And is the voting feature on Pedro?
We can have that. Right now, we were just using the calendar feature, because if you pay, then you can have other power-ups.
You have to pay for the voting.
We can actually, because we're not using any power-up, we can have the voting.
Okay.
Just
because it's a collaborative project, it might be interesting for that next board to see where there's energy and where there's not.
Also, one thing about the Trello, or about everything, but to say again about the way we work, the Trello is not managed by just one of us or anybody especially. If you feel like there is something important to add, you add. Or if there is something in the next, for example, that you want to grab, you take it. You don't need to, of course, you need to then discuss, but it's not anybody to decide alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically,
everybody has a right to say, I think this is really important, I'm going to start working.
Yeah, I think as the project grows, if you have someone who has, always there is someone who is pushing more than others.
Of course.
It's fun. So that's what groups are. And in what you push is what is interesting for you. So I have this geek thing about organization, because I'm not that naturally. So I try to find ways to hack that and work better. So I have a tendency to go more to Trello and try to organize it. But we always understand that not everyone in the group is going to do that, and we do not create pressure on that. We don't go around saying, "Hey, you didn't do your thing." We remind people.
You this week on Trello.
Go do your Trello stuff. And at least once a week, we always look at the Trello in the team meetings. Okay, we might have sometimes trying to pull gaps to go for to help us in keeping momentum in the project management. She's also learning this different way of doing, which normally the project manager have a lot of power, because they know sometimes they have more information than anybody else inside the project. And we don't want that. We don't want that to happen inside our projects. But it's very easy for us to go into a direction that someone is taking care of us. So please tell me what to do. No, just tell me what to do.
So, can I ask a question on that? So with the Trello board, and when there are tasks that have got people's pictures on, does it mean that they are doing that task and they're leading it and it is being done, and we just all, and know that we trust and we know it's in safe hands and it's being done, and then anything that hasn't got somebody's name on it, does that mean it's somebody's thought that it needs to happen, but it's not happening and doing it at the moment? So somebody could take it and run with it if they want to. Is that right?
What is the hard thing in that is that until you have, people will always grab this about collaboration, like accountability. Until you get a group to feel responsible about the tasks and understanding that only if these ones happen, something else happens, it takes a while, and we have to have the sensibility of understanding that not everyone inside the group have that type of patience, or even they never saw that happening before. They never worked in a group where anybody in the group had autonomy to do a decision like that. And so that creates frustration. Sometimes people are like, but I don't know where to go, I don't know where to start, I don't know these tasks that I actually grabbed, or someone asked me if I could and I said yes, and now I don't feel comfortable about it anymore. Instead of people saying these words like we're saying, because all of this, if they said, and if we are in a position like we are right now, we can fix it easily. It's very easy to fix. But it's not everyone that does that easily. Not everyone comes saying, hey, this task, I have no idea what to do. Can you help me? It seems so simple, right? But we don't do it. Like,
we're laughing because it's a real reflection of what we're seeing with our son Ivor at the school here, the democratic school, where he's been like that. He just didn't know what to do, or who to ask, or how to do anything.
He needed a teacher to tell him what to do the first week. He was too scared to be autonomous.
Yeah. He's learning, and now it's amazing how much he's changed all the time. So we can all learn these new ways of being.
Because most of us went to, I call it prison school, but that's because I'm a bit harsh. But because we went, we don't always know how to take autonomy, because we've had like 30, 40 years of wanting other people to give us the answers. It's difficult sometimes.
But so what we ask from you is, first is very comfortable with the way of working. Try to groom the rest of the group. You know, like take care of them. Like maybe this person is feeling like this, or this person has not. You know, there's a task there for 6 days, so red that it's burning. No, there's no problem going and asking there, hey, you need help with this? Is something that I can do to help? Or is there questions? Sometimes the person just forgot. You know, oh, that task, I have to go there. And then it's fine. And we do not go around that. But that needs a lot of patience, you know, because this is going to happen. When you go with a group, now we're 6 people, the group will grow 10, 20. At some point, we had 40 people at the same time. Not 40 people who used Trello, but the 40 people were all the time interacting with the projects in an active way. So it's going to be hard sometimes. So I just want you to, from the beginning, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid. There's no right way of doing this. We haven't found yet one that works for everyone.
I think that is one of the biggest frustrations with people when we say there's no right or wrong way, because people are used to that. Someone telling them this is wrong, this is right, do it like this or don't do like that. And we're always saying we're just experimenting. Can be that this doesn't work, and then we do something else.
And I'm done.
Woohoo.
And then what do you find like the main challenges? And if you're trying to deliver something like a TEDx by chance on time, then how do you manage that? If you know, what if people aren't interested in doing the tasks, or how do you then manage those kind of challenges?
Well, there's 2 things there. First is, really interestingly for us, events actually are the ones who run smoothly, because they have such strict timelines. Like if it's that date, we're not going to arrive in the day before and say, actually, we need a couple more days. So we're postponing the event for days. So if we can't do that, we actually always felt that the groups work the best in events. And they are also the best learning projects to work like this. But besides that, I think what is the biggest thing that we actually been dealing with that right now, especially with like client projects, is about when we talk about timelines and deadlines and all that. Actually, there's really good movement going around about that right now. Of I don't remember. There's an hashtag and everything. If you search for no deadline or no timeline, something like that, which means that people have this complete. You have to do things on time. Like you have to do this until here, so then this happens, and this is basically it's the base of project management. And what we're saying is, hey, there's this task. When do you think you can have it done? I think I can work on it tomorrow. If I put a couple of hours, by Friday, it's done. Okay, that's information. So instead of creating such pressure that if that task doesn't happen until Friday, then everything is doomed.
Everything, the world ends.
Yeah. And then you destroy a group. And when I say destroying a group, I don't mean that the group stops working. Because there's teams nowadays that are not working like this. They work. They produce. I mean, the thing is, people aren't very happy with it like that. So what we propose is, if the thing is very important, we have to talk about the importance of that and make sure that that one thing happens. And sometimes might mean that we go and say, hey, this really needs to happen tomorrow. I'm here for you. You know, you're not feeling good. You're in the flu. This is not working like if you expect it to work. I'm doing it. Instead of wait until Friday, didn't happen, and I knew it. I knew it like I knew it.
It's me. Bye.
I just mentioned your name because you were in the screen. And this is going to happen a lot with me because I work normally with the bigger tasks. You know, I propose myself to the bigger tasks. I can go 2 weeks writing a document, 1 hour per day, and sometimes it takes 2 weeks more than the 2 weeks that we're focused. And I can deal with that. I can deal with pressure. I can deal with the pressure from the group, and I can always come up with, hey, but I'm doing this. The reason it's happening is this and this other, and I can manage the task. But some people don't. You know, they fail a couple of times, and they will be like, you know what? This doesn't really work for me. I'm really wanting someone to lead me. I really want something to, you know. And we have had that. We have had our own frustrations in the past and in the present, and we'll have those in the future as well. So time is the hardest one.
Yeah.
And of course, what comes to deadlines, if there is, yes, the deadlines rarely are so strict besides with events. Then if in the 1 day before the event there's 10 people, it's amazing. We can do it. If there's one person, like so many times it has been, we'll push it until it's done.
Okay.
So,
and I just want to say one thing. We've been discussing this as a team in common because we have had now a bigger project that didn't really end really well. It's actually better now. We were feeling a little bit worse about it a while ago, and we have had we lost a team member a few months ago, and we have had to have this discussion a lot and learn about it. And one thing that we all agree on, and it's not a popular choice for everyone, is that when we start a project, we propose a project to other people, we have already committed. We're saying we're going to do this, no matter what. Like if you come, if tomorrow you decide to go away, or it's not going to change, you know? And so because we are in a different mode of the people that are joining right now, we deal with time in a different way. So it's you, for example, in Costa Rica, go for a week without hearing from us, from a task, from anything. You start getting worried. You start thinking, are they still doing it? Are they interested in something else happening that I don't know about? And so that's why we are all the time talking about use the group, use the chat. Let's have at least these team meetings every week as a way of keeping us in synchronous and understanding each other's. So it's always a worry from us to look into the others and think, because you need things, like every time you create something, you create pressure. For example, this is pressure, good pressure. Huh? Lies came with the idea, and she's talking about searching for projects, for spaces in April. This is something for us to talk about. It creates pressure to the project. Okay, let's organize in the timeline what needs to happen now for Lies to be able to do that in April. And if it doesn't happen, what happens? What is the things that we need to think about for those things? So we always propose, let's spend a lot more time in here, in the thinking, the preparing, the planning, and then because when we go do, then we go do good stuff instead of, let's do something now. Prototyping, yes. But I'm not meaning that, like, let's make a decision like, I just got a call from someone saying there's this really good space, we should go for it. And then we're in a position of saying, can we ask if we can answer in 2 weeks? No, he's saying now. You have to move now, then no. Then we're like, do you want to be in that position? Yeah, that's it.
So that's about when there's a situation where you feel you need to make a decision quickly, you basically, if you have to choose between making a decision for yourself fast or including others slowly, you include others slowly.
Depends on how you feel about the decision. Sometimes, even if I'm really sure about the decision, but I think it's too big, I will not take it. I prefer, because I know that people, even if it's the right decision, people will react differently about it, and it changes the group. It's a group in a position like Pedro can, and I can't.
Yeah.
Because he has, the knowledge, he has the information, he has the access to the decision making that I don't have. And because of that, but like we said this a lot in the other space project, you need to go buy toilet paper. Just go buy toilet paper.
Right.
Go ask her, buy extra fluffy.
And Drex, all the cheap stuff, yeah.
And this is, of course, a limit. Sometimes you deal with the task as well. Like, I did this big decision, guys. Sorry about that. But if I didn't do that, I thought this and this and this. Is that okay? And it might be not okay, but you have to be prepared to deal with that and be like, okay, sorry, next time I'll try a different way, or I lost one point.
A lot of self-managed teams, they use consent-based decision-making in that situation. So if the decision's big, like renting a space, they ask the team one by one, but the question is really smart: is this safe to try?
Yeah.
And most, the answer is almost always yes. But with a space, maybe someone would have an objection to that, and then you have to reformulate the proposal or think it through differently.
I guess. Sorry.
No, go for it, guys.
I guess the question would also be, who would you ask? Like, if there's a decision that needs to be made, who would be the core team that would have a vote? Or does it mean you have to ask every single person who is involved? Or how does it work?
I think we can decide differently. What we like, what we normally propose, that's what our answer is already this one. So we can change it, of course, if the rest of the group, like our 3 that are used to work in a certain way, we're proposing a certain way of working, but it's new for you. So you have a say on that as well. So you say, hey, I'm not comfortable with that. Can we do like a meet way about that? So what we propose is anybody that is active in the project has a say. Anybody. So what we do is we always start from the principle that we always have to inform the project about a decision. Hey, this, you expect a reaction to it, and then you act accordingly. Sometimes people won't participate. It's their choice. Or sometimes it's not really their choice because they didn't see it, there was something happen, but...
And they just have to go with the fluffy.
Yeah. But yeah, what we need to be ready is to deal with it. Like, I made this decision, I asked the group, just 3 people said yes, but it was the only one who said something. I'm going to go with that, and then next week someone will come, hey, I actually didn't agree with that. And he said, look, I really tried, I put it here. I'm sorry you didn't have a chance. Can I do something about that? I can't. I mean, continue from here. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's a group with a lot of people. I prefer that than having a board that makes decisions.
Well, and it's worth noting that situation happens in hierarchies as well. It's just that the people who make the wrong decision are allowed to make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same situation. It's just that they're formally wrong instead of informally wrong.
Yeah. And there is tools. The same thing as you just said about using a way of proposing vision changes everything. We can use that. Like, do you know about Lumio?
Yeah.
There's a tool is for group decision making that helps just because of the way it's designed. So basically, the questions are not yes or no. For a decision are also I don't know what now, or I'm completely against, and then you need consensus. Like, I'm completely against this. Okay, so if this person is in the group and is important for us, and he said he's completely against, we have to see this. We have to talk about this. Or is I don't really care. I trust you guys to make a decision. And when you have all these options, then the voting is completely different from the yes or no. So the yes or no is binary, and it sometimes is not yes or no. Okay. So good. So if you're ready to work this way,
should we just because Lois is soon moving to Lisbon, and you guys said you also have more timeline. We talk about that first.
You're going to make questions because
no, I think if you really tell what is your timeline, family-wise, and moving and planning.
Oh.
I need to go right now, I'm afraid. But I have this meeting in my calendar on a recurring basis now, so I'll join and engage more regularly. But today I need to get our coffee.
Yeah, and every time you have some idea or suggestion or
question,
you don't need to, like we were talking before Lois joined us, you don't need to be like needing to make a big preparation to make a post. Just go there. I was thinking about this. What do you think? You might get any answer, you might not get any answer, but at least you make a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a suggestion which kind of relates to Lois's co-working space needs, so I'm gonna encourage you to put it in this space.
Okay. What is that
after this? About we were talking about our needs about coming over and like having a co-working space or somewhere for Ivor to be like sooner than like quite quickly, maybe before the bigger plans, and whether we could just maybe find a small space to test it for a short amount of time in the summer, and if Lois was going to be there and you guys
or something, we see if we can rent a space and just see if it works.
Yeah.
Try it, learn from it, decide, like, we'll know what we don't want to do and what we do want to do maybe from it. That's the suggestion.
That has been from the beginning one of our prototype in a temporary space. And actually those are really, we think are going to be really easy to get even for free. So.
Oh right, really? Well, that would be okay. Great. Cool.
Put on the Trello.
This is moving along quite fast already.
And because we're ambitious about the project, so we're thinking of something pretty big for Peniche or something like that, and it needs to work for us, and we're committed to do it. So we're not in a hurry, and I think something like a small. We always thought of something in the center of the city, like a shop with a window. Would be the best possible, something that would get like 10 people at the same time working or sitting. Then it's pretty easy. And if you go to Portugal, and if you've been in Portugal recently, in these small cities, half of the places are closed. It's always like that. It's something about the culture, and it's something about the economy of the country. But it's not Lisbon. It's not Lisbon or Porto. Nothing like that. It's Peniche, Óbidos. Óbidos is a touristic place. It's not an example, but the city we were before, this Caldas da Rainha, it's half empty. Restaurants, shops, cafes, closed.
Of course, I agree with the showroom.
Ciao, John.
Get to the garage for our car.
I agree with the prototype or showroom type of smaller space. However, we can't replicate there, especially the kid-wise, the space that we are dreaming of, where we have outside space, or it would be near the park or near the beach, where the kids can go in and out and be more freely, because the last space we had, even though it was mainly just us working our team, it was not fun.
Right.
It was not fun for the kids, even though we had the space enough for them to do their things.
Yeah.
Still, the mindset was all the time hushing and don't mess. So it's not the same as a big space.
Free space where they can run and
so
ignore.
They need movement. Well, we all need. We are not used to not moving. But kids need.
And in this, there's also something important for us to have in mind, which is we're designing something that is normally designed for big cities, where there is critical mass. And this is a small city. So we will always struggle with numbers, with the amount of users, if we want to keep a record going, how much we're going to need to sell every day to keep it going. All those things, we're going to struggle much more than if we were doing this in Lisbon or Porto or even a slightly larger city. And so because of that, we have to make a lot of decisions. Like, for example, as we knew in Caldas, we couldn't have a bigger number than 10 people. We couldn't have the space more messy or able for the kids to be doing, because we were afraid that we would actually put people away because not everyone is into kids or having kids in the working space. So in the future for us, thinking in Peniche, we know that the space needs to be big, to be much bigger than it should be for the size of the city. But it's our own investment. You know? We want that for our kids, so we're going to work in that direction. But we need to understand, yes, the space needs to be bigger, the rent's going to be bigger, but still it's a smaller city, so the rent is lower. So we have to always compensate with something, always be able to balance things.
And have you already looked at a few kind of smaller spaces for a prototype, or no?
We did a couple of walks in the city, and we saw a few. We saw some that we would love it, but we didn't ask or check anything. Actually, normally Tita takes over that area. She goes and checks, and then she has a list with 300 places to go. Research is her thing. But then nothing beats of in the ground asking the people that we know, people that we trust, and say, hey, what about this? Do you know the owner? We ask. No, it's empty. It doesn't say it's for rent, but maybe if we talk to them. But for the temporary space, I think we can get the city to help pretty easily. As soon as we make a good proposal, but we have to be clear that we're saying this is a temporary space. We want your help for the temporary space. And in the future, we want your support as well, but we don't want to work on your space, the city space, because we've been there. And in 3 years, they change. They go to a new president. And they say it's not enough, or what we're doing is not in their strategy.
Sorry.
So we're not going there. But the temporary space, above all, for me, the most what I'm more interested about is having this kind of like showroom of the space, this project space, as we call it, where people can come and see, our ideas and sit with us and talk and know where we are to come and meet. Or sometimes people are crossing in the street, see and then, oh, this is interesting, and join us. That we can do meetings with other people. That we can do a prototype like Lois is proposing. We actually always have the most success was with these things, selling food and drinks and cakes and stuff. We always had success in those products. Always were good. Always made money. Everybody was happy about it because it's a product that in the end gets consumed immediately. So
and it's something that is easily understandable.
Yeah, you see all the story of the project. While with design products, suck so much.
Harder to conceptualize, isn't it? So when are you guys back in Portugal, Pedro?
28th
of May.
Of May.
It's pretty soon.
2 months.
And Lois is going to be there.
I'm going to be.
What is the date? You know already, Lois?
Right now, my husband's just looking for an apartment, and then once he has an apartment for us in Lisbon, we will move to Lisbon. But I mentioned this to Gabriel. The thing is, I'm still trying to convince my husband to go for this Peniche project because right now he's focused on Lisbon. He just got the job in real estate, and he seems very motivated to try. So it's kind of something I'm still working on.
I think when are you going? You know already a date? The flights?
Probably early April. Oh, you're talking about to me, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. In April.
And you, Gabriel, what is the timeline?
So looking at coming to Portugal in June.
Okay. So you're going to be in Europe before that?
Pardon?
You're going to be in Europe before that?
We're leaving Costa Rica on the 2nd of May. We're going back to England. Then I'm going to Ibiza. John's with Ivor in England. And then we'll go from England to Portugal. So we're just kind of, and we really want to pin down our dates and want to make sure that it's around a good time. We haven't decided how long we're going to come, but probably minimum 3 weeks, maybe longer. So, and it depends on some of the things like, well, the event, the workshop that you were talking, everyone was talking about, and also whether we can find a way to a place for John to work, and because we're exploring homeschooling or unschooling with Ivor for a while. And I'm not. I was talking to Lois a bit, and I was saying I'm not totally 100% on it, and I would love your advice actually on it, maybe off this call. But if there was a space in the way that I can work on other things, not all the time, but yeah.
What we were thinking of trying is beginning of May to have a good proposal to communicate that we would start in the beginning of May sending letters and contacting people directly about our intentions. And this more than communication of the project, like public communication, we will do that as well, but it's too early for doing that, is sending a letter to the mayor saying, hey, we're doing this, we are these people, these are we are proposing, look how nice it looks, you want to support this project? The support we need is this and this and this, how can you help? And then we do this with a few organizations. Of course, we're locals, so we know for who to go. It's not a case of a new country for everyone. And of course, we have friends. This helps a lot. And I have a good
networking, yeah,
clout in the region, in Peniche as well. Even though I never lived there for a year together, but I spent all my youth there. I know pretty much everybody. Yeah, I just taught them to do stuff, and they're like, "Oh, already, shut up already." Yes. So we would, beginning of May, start preparing for two things. One, for sure, is the first public meetup. Okay, so the first public presentation about the project in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of June.
First 2 weeks of June.
Yeah, first 2 weeks of June. So if you're there a week before that to help prepare and to also participate, we can do that. The second thing, which is it's ambitious, but I think I'm an optimist. I think we can do it, is to find a temporary space, even if it's temporary, like for 2 months, or for 3 months, for doing this pop-up co-working, basically us there, and invite a few people and already start saying, hey, there's this, for you to join, pay €5 a day. We're just trying and seeing things, and you're free to join us and all that. We can also organize together that we would share a rent of us, and then would be get really cheap for each of us to get one space, and then have full freedom about it, make all the decisions, not needing to be. But if we see that it's getting too late or people are not responding, we go and say, hey, there's this space, it's really cool. A friend of mine can make us for €200. Let's go for it. And we go.
Sounds good.
Also, we're going to start looking for places to move there, but we don't have an urgency because we live pretty near enough. but we don't want to commute a lot, so
We can also take our tent and put it on the beach. We have no problem with that.
we actually did that. One time in Lagos, this city in the south, we were starting a collab project there, and they came with me, and we were supposed to stay at the hostel, but we camped. And it was so good, so they stayed camping for a week while I was working. It was really
The tent. Tiny? Is it a big?
big enough for us.
Not anymore, though.
No.
Now it starts to be on the limit. 4 adult tent is not enough for 2 adults and 5 kids.
No. Well, for a week it's fine.
Yeah, we sleep on top of each other, so we just push someone out of the door.
So for this, oh sorry. for if we're gonna do, for example, this temporary space kind of test, are we looking at maybe around May? We have to wait for you to come back, right? Do you think that's a better idea rather than looking for space right now, like in April?
I think it's always the looking for space needs to be, well, we're proposing that needs to be done in a certain way to have a real impact that you're looking for. For example, you told us when we were a bigger group, because we started like this, and then at some point we had a problem with the group that we were working with. Not with the group, the guy, the leader of the group was crazy. Was having emotional problems and stuff, and then we had to go with that, and then it didn't really work out. So at some point we divided the projects, and they continued with the space that we found, and we went to find another one, smaller one. But the process that we did until that point, we looked into 70 spaces.
70?
70. We didn't
70?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that many spaces in Caldas. Oh my God.
I think that was not even half of it.
No.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
A street in Lisbon has more than that empty.
Really? And were none of them right either?
Yeah, so what we did was we didn't visit all. We visited around 15, 20 maybe. But what happened was that we had such a knowledge of the real estate of the city that actually the project by itself, just this part of the process was so important for the city that we had this, way to bargain deals for spaces. So if someone said, this rent, we said, actually, what you're asking is too much because of this and this and this, and we know. And here's the Google map with all the dots that we found, and we visited it all. And here are the photos. And do you know that this other space that is 10 times the size of yours is half of the price? And another thing that we started working, but we never ended doing, but we would like to do in Peniche, is that when you have this research, this information, you go to the city and say, hey, we made this survey of the city, and maybe you have a certain expectation about the usage of your city, but it's not real. You might be saying, politically, you might be saying Peniche is the youth capital. And we're saying, actually, the youth has no place to stay. They don't go play anywhere. The skate park is empty. They basically go to cafes and bars or are drinking in the park. And we know this. We've been there. Here's the photos. Here's the information. There's all this research background. And when a city starts a conversation this way, they look into us in a completely different way. They're not anymore, these kids, they want to do a fun project with the surfers. And that's where the position where we want to be. Sometimes happens that the first place that you saw is the place you end up. And sometimes, like in Orbiters, we sat, and we had the keys 4 hours later, and then we stayed there for 5 years. And this might happen. Of course, it was a luck kind of
sorry, sorry to interrupt you. What would be a good process then to find the space, like from what you've learned?
I think first we start online, seeing all the states. Oh, that's where your husband can actually participate. That's a way of what? Look, we would like. Could you
He's
help
focused on this one. Oh, let's see.
Your expertise in online tech places, and then you start, joining in. But first is online, just check things and then send messages to friends and people that we know there. Like, do you know about any place? We start listing them.
Okay.
We also have there some of the real estates.
But normally sells the more luxury thing, but knows
everything.
We have several people like that, and then we can also ask people to go directly ask other people. Like, could you directly ask about the possibilities of the city having a space that it's empty right now, which they have plans to develop or something like that.
This is how things work in Portugal. Directly.
And how long did it take you to have this space, like the one in Caldas?
That process was long.
3 months, maybe.
Okay.
But
Caldas is bigger, right? Caldas.
Yeah, slightly.
Well, maybe
double.
Yeah. Yes, because in Caldas maybe it's more urban.
Than Peniche.
Peniche is then more spread.
Yeah, Peniche might have more places that are empty, but they're not an option because they're in too bad condition. Can happen that. And right now, for example, for living, they're kind of having a problem because the university grew double the number of students, so they don't really have options for.
Also, because they're the accommodation, people prefer, of course, renting 2 weeks in the summer. And
yeah, it's very.
But that is not anymore. That is changing because of the. Of course. People have gone through years of that, and then
it's so much work.
Yes, the work and the you used to do this without paying taxes. Now the law is wrong about those things, and they start thinking, nah, I would prefer having a family, living in my house, paying every month, even if it's slightly less. I don't have to deal with changes all the time, cleaning, buying new stuff, the breaking, the stealing, and all those things. So that is changing a lot.
Of course, if you want to be fast, you can find today still the space. Yeah. It's not that in our case, and anyway, in our case, we never rush.
I went to visit Ivan. They have there the web design, their office, and there was 2 offices available.
Really? In Peniche or Baleal, or where is it exactly?
Peniche. Baleal, we're not even looking into Baleal. Baleal is
too expensive. No. Baleal is the island, right?
Tiny.
Baleal is the island and the beach nearby.
Okay. And the beach nearby is considered Baleal.
Yeah, but that is for a different project. I think that is more like next to a co-working surf type of thing.
One of the cool places.
More for tourists, more for that. Then it's not anymore about local community or anything like that. We in the beginning kind of looked into that, but we evolved into something different because as the way we see ourselves living and with the kids and giving.
You want to be a little bit away from the tourist area? Is that what you mean?
Yes, first. Then the beach is amazing, but if you don't have an amazing place during the winter, it's really hard. Then the rent and all that, like you have to keep a place, expensive place through low season. But then Balial, if you go November, December, January, February, March, right now, today, if you would go to Balial, you would be there.
And I think Balial is more for business opportunity, and the niche has a lot more potential for living in there, wanting really to create that kind of community.
Yeah,
it has more space. It has all the things nearby, the supermarkets, the
gas station,
schools,
Yeah.
the
internet.
everything is near, and the way we do the project that is beyond the four walls, niche itself has more potential.
Nobody lives there, you know. It's either holiday houses or tourists. So nothing really. I would love. I don't know. I don't know if I would love right now if I think romantically. If I had the money to buy a house in the islands. But then I don't know if in 1 year I would be so bored of the.
Yeah, you would be pretty isolated there.
Also, the Balial area is the last years is developing very fast and getting more. Should I say more interesting things? But it's just in the. Nothing is planned there. Like, for example, there's still some plots where can be built buildings, but nothing is planned. Like, one house can be very modern, and then the next is something horrible. You know, there's no structure in that area. So in that sense, I don't really see it so interesting.
No, every time.
Because that area is just for making money.
And if there's money involved, there's a lot of power and struggles into who owns what, who gets to do, and it's not us. We don't have families there. We don't have power of that level. So for Peniche, our proposal is different. We want to do where nobody wants to do, and we want to have an impact in the local community. You say you're doing that in Balial, they will laugh. Like, local community in Balial? Really? Cool. The surface?
Really? Really? I don't know. I found it could be possible there, but yeah, you would know more than me.
Lois, do you know like what you would ideally like at the moment in your dream? Would it be to turn up in April and have a co-working space there? Would that persuade your husband? And or yeah, what do you think you need?
Honestly, I really just want to test out the idea. Like, I guess it's more of my personality. Like, I would rather do something and really have a feel of things rather than talk about intangible things. It's more of personality.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, even like going there for a weekend, checking out places, spaces, talking to people, even visiting the farm of Paulo, and yeah, that's.
I think that would be good as well. I don't know if April. I think April is still a good time to go because it's not yet high season.
Yeah. Surprisingly, there's a lot of tourists coming in. Apparently, from the friends that I know, they're like, some surf houses are already booked. I'm surprised.
Right now, the low season is really short in Portugal. Like, I think it's December, January, February, and then it's done.
And there's
starting in March.
Still, even in those months, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, but
from Central Europe.
And it's a different. It's those caravans, the vans,
not tourists,
real
the lifestyle.
Yeah, the surf lifestyle. But the hostels will be empty, and the Airbnbs are not working. And right now, for example, I heard the other day that in Bali there's around 30 different hostels. 30.
Really?
Wow.
Of course, some of them are, someone had a,
Extra room.
no, had
Grandparents' house.
an apartment, yes, entrance for hostel. And then, just put 6 beds in one room. Then have,
Is it really easy to do that? Like, but
Yes.
is it with a really?
yeah, even legally is pretty easy. It takes some time, and it's frustrating, but it's pretty easy. Especially if you know people. Getting the place is the hard part. But if you get, like, my grandma has this apartment, it's full of stuff.
I'm gonna start talking to grandmas now.
Yeah.
Hola, bon dia.
Yeah, go to the old ladies.
Do you have a house? Do you have an old house you want to rent?
Maybe borrow and squeeze
I would say by now there's no possibility.
Oh, wow.
Even there's one thing that it's coming. Hopefully, I think it's a good thing, which is this has happened in the Algarve, which is they want to define a limit number of accommodation per area. Let's say we won't accept any new license until another one goes out, which I think is a good thing. And also because then they can more easily go check places if they really have the conditions or not. They're saying, because sometimes they're really bad. You get there like, okay, where did I get to? Oh, but it's 12 euros a night with breakfast.
But yes, what I was going to say, what comes to your rush into finding a space, I think in your case it makes all the sense, because imagining that you would find the space, or ask a temporary space, could make sense also in timeline for opening a restaurant or cafe during the high season. That way you could create funds already.
Yeah.
Of course, that makes more sense than you waiting with your cafe or restaurant idea until maybe what we think realistically with the space until the end of the year.
Yeah, I think with every business, there is something that is important to always have an attention, especially restoration, because dealing with all the licensing, the conditions you need to open that, it's not easy. In Portugal, it's very hard because of all the steps you have to go through. Normally, what people do in Portugal, Portuguese do, is that they open without any of that, and then they
start dealing
gradually get that stuff.
When someone
but it can happen that someone comes in, opens and closes, and then you pay a fine. But people deal with that risk. Is part of the thing. But if you're not local, you won't do that. And I wouldn't propose for you to do that.
Yeah.
What I think what we can achieve is in a better space. When we use as a legal form for renting and for selling stuff is an association. So the association has slightly easier conditions. For example, we're going to sell during this month food to get funds to do this other thing. The association has a lot less limits to what it can do, and if it needs so good conditions. Like if you're saying I'm cooking from home, and I'm selling this space every afternoon to test something or to create funds for something else. As an association, it's pretty easy, and we can just start. As a business, with all those things that you have to go through bunch of stuff and spend a lot of money before you can even try it. And that's, I think, the thing that we can have a project like that. In the same way, we know that something related with foods to do in the space is always going to be important.
We love food.
I
It's what attracts people, and it's a reason for people to come to a space like, I'm not going there, I'm not working. No, just come for coffee. And then you go for coffee, and then you then have a conversation with someone, and actually I could come here often to do something, or I could start coming to the events, or it's such a cool place, it's going to start to be my hangout place. And what you saw in that place in Paris is basically that. You get a few people that are really residents that come often and stay there, but most of the people will come. Of course, it's Paris. People in the street are enough to cover the space. But that's what we like. If we do this in June, then we get June, July, August,
September.
You get a full amount of people. People are basically staying in Palial and Supertubos, okay? But in between of them, they have to pass Peniche. And all those people, even if they're in a van, they always have to go to Peniche. Not always. There in Baleal, there's also something like a small supermarket and all that. And if you're staying a week, it's fine. But if you're staying a month or over than that, people have always to go to Peniche. And also, everybody arrives in Peniche first, go then to the things. So if we do a good job in promoting it, you get.
And people go, like, the evenings, people go to Peniche, and then there's nothing.
Not nothing, there's a few in the
Yes,
summer is fine.
Of course, summer is more busy, but still.
But
There's nothing special.
But I don't think you can set a business and try really to see if it's like profitable this summer.
Sorry? Can you say that again?
I don't think you can try a business, set a business and try it this summer to see if it's profitable. I don't think you can do that.
You can't because
it's too little time. It's also you'll have to deal with all other things. It also depends on your ambition, of course. Like if you think you have to make money for the rent, for all the expenses, and maybe pay you a wage. If you put that in a number and expect to do this summer, and sometimes you might even do it because it's just the high season, but then you get to September and then what's going to happen is that maybe this doesn't work. And even we've participated in a few of these restoration projects, and often, it's after the heat, the big season, you're so tired, you have to do all the things again, and then maybe it's that time, like imagine everything goes well, August was amazing, you get to September, and it's the time to, hey, you actually need a bigger space, you have to maybe hire someone, the kitchen is not good enough, there's a flood happening every time you do the dishes, and you have to deal with all of this in the moment you have the least money, you're the most tired, people want to go on holiday.
The thing is, I'm not really looking to create a restaurant in this year. What I was thinking is just to test certain products. For example, like what we mentioned, like if it's a co-working space, like cookies or little cakes, and not really a full functioning restaurant, because obviously that takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. But certain things that you could cook out of the space, like you could prepare it ahead and just bring it there, and people can just kind of take that. I think that's something that is more doable rather than having a fully functional cafe.
And something like that is also,
I think it's
sellable. More sellable.
And if you go in the direction of like vegetarian, or because you have that like Asian food, you could even think of catering for spaces like hostels and other spaces, because they buy like you went with us to the school. You know, the hostel goes there every week to give the people a different environment, and they eat something different. And there's no good pizza in Peniche, for example. There's no good pizza. So that one thing, like, wait, a surfer place, there's no good pizza?
Pizza or burger?
Burger.
Yes, that. But then is a little more high. Yeah. There's no burger place.
We even have a few ideas, like products, like takeaway type of products. We have talked about, there's this, have you tried this, what's the order? Tita?
What?
Something da horta?
Fishing.
Have you heard this? Peixinhos da horta? Nice.
No.
It's basically the green bean, deep fried with this called
The flour and egg mix.
It's a dish? Sorry. Yeah.
It's a snack.
Okay.
It's very Portuguese, and it's the one Portuguese traditional vegetarian.
And it's really simple and cheap.
Really tasty.
The one.
There's
The
one.
only one.
The rest is meat, fish.
Remember the vegetarians restaurant?
They give you salads or soup, vegetable soup.
Or fish.
Yeah, fish soup, because the vegetarians just don't eat else.
It sounds like there are like a few simple things, that maybe you could take, cook, and bring to a space if you could find like a small space.
Yeah, and even do it like, one thing that we have as a group is to create products, and so it's not just about you. It's like it's what you cook. Of course, the quality of the product needs to be really good. Price, of course, but then how you package it, how you communicate it. Like, we created products that they became unique, even though they were just normal fried cake. But they became unique because of branding and packaging and promoting and communication, basically. Then also because it's connected with other projects. Like, oh, there's guys that do cool stuff. Now have this one food. There was, I can tell you a couple of things that they came from there. There was this girl that did this ecologic nutrition, and so she did these catering lunches where she would cook and then talk about what they're eating and the reasons why they're ecologic, because being local and all that. So she did like in groups in restaurants, she did in hotels, and then she started her own blog, and then we even did a collaboration with an organic, with the bio shop in Avish.
It's in Peniche or
No, not she. He started working as a consultant and went.
Sounds really cool.
Then we had this really cool idea that also didn't carry on because when we brought it time, it was this picnic. So basically, it was a package that you would buy ready-made local food.
Oh, that's a cool one.
With a map, and with this map would show you picnic areas, the nicest ones, like with the story. Like this is the place where the king and the queen for the first time met, something like that.
And did it work?
There was a lot of movement around it, a lot of noise around it, but she had like 6 other big projects. And she even started opening a restaurant, her own restaurant, but she then collapsed.
Really?
But she afterwards became the manager of Paswell.
Of what?
Of the space. When he transitioned to the city, he actually went to work with the city for managing.
Okay. So sometimes like ideas can go another way, I guess.
Actually heard to do 10 at a time. With the food is always this. We also did that Tasca Apas place, which because it was in the place that it was, they got a lot of movement, a lot of interest, and then when they do this really well, also the family comes to the rescue and starts helping. Also, more friends, they believe in the project and carry on. The people in the other projects help. You know, should I go eat in the restaurant on the side or eat from Lois because she's part of the project? It's an easy choice unless the food sucks. Well, if the food sucks, then you deserve to.
That's why I want to test it out, because I want to know if the food sucks.
We have also had
but we can talk about something else, because some guys might have other topics in mind other than the food. Sorry for hogging all that time.
Food thing that normally people together.
I think what we could now do really fast
Really fast.
It's just look into when we've been talking about ideas and timings, into looking how this would fit in the timeline of both the space and the TEDx event. So if we look right now, we're 10 days away of the end of March. So basically it's a week of work. And we have a full month until May. May. Until May. So, which would mean we would have around a month and a half to prepare a really good proposal for sending to people and to start using publicly.
The proposal is to go out at the beginning of May. That's what you mean, yeah?
That would be our
aim.
Wanting.
Collaborative aim.
Yeah.
Maybe at the latest, like mid-May.
Mid-May? Yes. Sorry, I wrote here the dates wrong, and now I'm struggling to. Yes, as well, but I think we can do it.
Because
I think the problem that can happen is that if we start working in the concept and we get in love with the concept, that we overwork it, and then we get to May and we're like, oh, maybe if we have a little bit more time, we do it even better. I think we don't need that.
Yeah.
I think right now we have good ideas enough. We just need to put them in words and images and get our act together, and then make a few decisions about going, arriving, maybe some money that we might need to spend, and then we're good. You know? And if in the beginning of May we start talking with people, then it's about having calls and sending emails. Normally, you give a call, people, hey, that's really interesting. Can you send me an email with more information? Yes, I can. I'm ready for that, and it's amazing what I'm going to send to you. Because normally in the past has been, yes, we can. And so I would come and, guys, we have to make a really good proposal, and it would be too much work.
And the people have already forgotten.
Or they will be like, yeah.
Nice idea.
Nice idea.
It's too long.
Yeah, so if we would be then doing that, then we could be at least really on top of people during the month of April, especially the 2 last weeks. And then we could start organizing ourselves. Okay, so we're going to arrive then. Let's have the meetup on this day, and we already have a meeting on that day and that week, and we can get together for sprint session on the projects for this weekend, and we can do a lot when we're ready and we're on the local. And I think should be where we should be worried about the timeline for the space right now should be this. Having in mind that we're looking for having a first public meetup and opening a temporary space. Only, just that.
Without the Tibet and a baby coming.
Except.
Oh yeah, we forgot about the baby.
We're gonna put that on as a project.
Baby going.
We're too used to them.
Yeah.
So
We
already know. Of course, it's a big. It's not a big thing. It is a big thing, like changing, but at the same time, having the baby on board goes a lot.
for to get the proposal done for May, should we maybe could we have an online workshop in April to bring all our ideas together? Because I know we have the document that we can add to, but I find it useful when we actually discuss things, and maybe we could do a live, actually write it, talk about it, have a facilitated online session.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. One thing that we can do also, I think that's good, like to kickstart it, and then what we can do is make teams, and then teams work on parts, and then we come together again, and we do stuff. That's a good way. It always is. We get more enthusiasm from people to work like that. So if we think right now we have 1 week and another week, basically, so 2 weeks counting with each one. If we could, by the end of March, get 2 things. One is enough content on the proposal doc, and just draft content like ideas, links, blocks of texts. Like we already have a description for the project, but we might need to rethink it as a way to have these people understanding it. Can anybody in Peniche read that and understand what it is? We could have that, and then in the beginning of March we could have that workshop that we proposed, where we would do like morning sprint or a full day of work. You kind of put it in blocks and then decide, okay, so we're going now to work on this part, and we're going to work on this part, or someone is doing a certain task in it. But there is certain tasks that's going to take longer time, like ambition. A video would be really good, like a kickstart project. That would be really cool. A website, even is just a landing page with that video, links for the things we're doing, description of the project, how people can join, how people can help. Another thing that we should also think about is, would we do stuff like crowdfunding? Would we go to use anything like what's this website where people get Patreon type of?
Oh yeah, we can get funding, Kickstarter and stuff.
Also, if we would spend any time doing research of real funding things and do the application for those fundings, which are always a lot of fun.
We suck at that.
But well, we've done a few this year. Last year. But if we then, I think then a month is good enough to have a really good concept out there and already. I would say that we would easily double the people in the project. We might get some people also more active and more into putting effort into the project. Also, be able to more specifically ask about the tasks for the people, like when we were talking with Veronica for her to do like a photographic
research
or report of niche. We can maybe do tools for Lois to write posts, blogs about it. Maybe even if we have already like Facebook posts, stuff like that, to build public community. Yeah, there's a lot to do. And this means also during the same time, there's not such an urgency, but if by then we would have the TEDx application done, we could publicly talk about it, saying, hey, this project is also doing the TEDx event, which always brings in interests and attention. And yeah.
Is it alright if I put some of the stuff on a Trello board or something, just so I can see it and everyone can see maybe some of the main dates and map out a master, like a timeline on a Trello board?
Yeah. What we've done already is a table in each of the docs, this timeline table, which has some dates.
For the two separate, for the...
Yeah, but then, they're a little bit different. It's like the space project is more like busy now, less busy after June, or less things happening. And the TEDx event is different. It's less things happening now, and it will get gradually more busy near the events. Because right now we just need to do the application, then we kind of have to hope we get the license, which is not shouldn't be a problem. I mean,
we also talked that we would have the event anyway, even if we would not get the TEDx license.
We make pirate TEDx.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pirate? You heard of those dishes?
Or Z.
Ted Z.
Yeah, and so in the Trello, what happens is this needs really just a couple of people focus on the things and start adding tasks, and then adding the tasks thinking of the timeline, and start asking people, hey, there's this to do, who wants to do, or I'm grabbing this one. It would be good to have someone doing this one, who can do this part. Like for example, if you see the Based for Peniche project, there's not much done right now. I grabbed writing the context proposal, and I started adding that, but I never touched. This week I didn't touch it at all, especially with the Google Apps happening. But in the TEDx Peniche, you have very little to-dos even, because, as you know, right now, and the work in a TEDx event is really the finding the speakers, who are the speakers, preparing the speakers, getting the place, preparing the space.
Yeah. I just noticed the Trello board has a useful little calendar, actually, doesn't it? So you can change it to that, and so however people, the dates, the deadlines people tag to their activities, you can see it then in the calendar.
Well, we tried a few different things. Like with calendar, is if you have like us three right now working as a team focused on the same things, we can organize like that. We started doing also another thing, which is organizing every day what we're doing in that day and communicating to the group. We're doing this today. This is happening today. Next day, same thing. But with a group like ours, we can do, right now what we can do is really be on top of the tasks and motivating people to do them. And there's a lot of work on organization and planning that's going to be done for very few people. And there's no really a way around that. There's no expectation of the group all elaborate happen.
Okay.
Okay.
So we still need to work on the timeline and the tasks. What I propose right now is having this timeline. I think we still need to organize a couple of workouts this week. These next 2 weeks. So if you're still on, Gabrielle, after yesterday, we can schedule a new one. And then just you and I really focused task per hour per and then we communicate to the group.
This for me this week we have John's family visiting, so I'm a bit this week. But next week, Monday and Tuesday, I can spend quite a lot of time if we can find the right time slot together. That'd be great.
Okay. So what would be the best for you? Okay.
I can do Monday and Tuesday.
Next Monday, Tuesday.
Next, yeah.
Right. Let me just check something here.
And I'm happy to work on bits on my own as well, more like start.
I think in the context proposal, we're doing and I would like, if you can stay 5 minutes after we finish this with the rest of the group, I would like to ask you something.
Yeah.
Do it common. So with the context proposal we're writing is very similar to all the work we're doing with other things like the case study. It's always a research thing. So there we have to do all that work as well, like what are the research questions? In a way, the case study about Spaswa, we can use it as a tool as well for this project. All that needs time there. So you can also join that task. It's going to take a lot of time. Mm-hmm. There's a few things here. There's a post about the project that maybe that's something that Lois. We're thinking of doing. Let me see what you think of this strategy. We as Common have the possibility of reaching more people, and we want to write a blog post about this new project. Okay, so that's a blog post with Medium, where we then use it as to, hey, we're starting this new project, check it out. And then at the same time, we would publish it as a common, as the new project from Common. But at the same time, we would then connect it or link it with the space project. So imagine like this post has information from the point of view of Common as a team, but also from the project point of view. So it redirects people there instead of making, imagine, in April, by the end of April, we have a new Facebook page for the space project, and we post there the first blog for our 70 likes. Yeah.
I didn't really get that.
Basically, Common has bigger reach. Would have a blog post about the space project. Okay. And then I don't know how we make a connection with the project as like, I don't know, talk about the people that are involved, and here you can find.
Are you gonna use your blog of Common as the platform? Meaning we don't have an independent website to post this blog?
Just for this first post.
Okay.
And then after that, we would start building the community around for the blog.
Just for my experience in blogging, it's always best to have it already with the domain name that you're going to use, because that's where the traffic's going to go first. Yeah. So if you're going to promote this particular website using that domain and a lot of people go there, and then you're going to change it later on, you're going to lose all that traffic basically, and they're going to not be able to find it again right away, especially the first people who like are involved in it or even like are interested in it. You might have problems later on. Yeah. I think
it needs to be kind of, even if it would be worked together, we needed to have one blog post on the domain of the space project, and then we make another one that can be pretty similar, but we can talk more about our point of view on Common, because that will first get more traffic.
I would suggest actually having a separate like website, like that's the domain, and then if you want to reshare that in a certain network, you can do kind of an excerpt, like this is the main story, and if you want to get more information, this is where it's like redirected back to that. It's just for SEO purposes, because if you diversify it later on, like you're just gonna change the domain name, you're gonna start back to zero. So
I think that's what we should do. Is like what I'm proposing here is that you would take over that task.
So yeah, I have to actually sign up for Trello first. I'm so sorry. I'm so delayed on things. Thanks for reminding me. It's a very sneaky way of you to remind me.
You would take that task and basically start organizing things to go in that direction, because that will create the need for other tasks to be done. Like, for example, okay, we need a domain. What is the domain? We need a name. Okay. Hey, brainstorm the name of the project.
Right.
I already bought a few months ago coworkpeniche.com.
Okay.
Which, in the end, if we don't have anything better, then do that one. But it's good to have it, because for search reasons,
even if you redirect it later on, it's gonna be almost like number one. If nobody has it, like they're just gonna search co-work clinician. You're number one on the search.
We got that. Others was the same. And there's a couple of things that we can do that are worked really well for us, which is a really well Google business profile. We got almost everyone from Google Business, almost no one from Facebook. Foreigners, normal. because you go Google Maps, where is spaces to work, and we'd be only one there. Also, there's a new thing. It's called Google Guides or local guides. Google local guides, and local guides means you are in the map. If someone is in that place, they give you this person can help you with finding a place to stay, or this person can find you. And it basically is a little bit like TripAdvisor type of thing. But since it's new, maybe you could be number one there.
Wait, what website did you get again? coworkpeniche.com, you said?
Coworkpeniche.com.
It's so funny. There's actually a coworkingpeniche.wordpress.com right now.
Yeah, it's an old project, really old.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't exist anymore.
There's a guy from Lisbon that was kind of like...
No, this one was the blog that was some foreigner. Wasn't it?
Maybe.
I think so.
But I think, but it's not, it's been already, I think, at least 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, we also had one guy, an Italian guy, in the project in Caldas. Is Gianfranco, is amazing, and maybe he still participates with us. And he started something like that. He started the website, Co-working Ericeira. And what he does is that he does this if he gets enough interest. He said, like, if I would get so much interest, I would go and rent the place and start it. But of course, this is, it's the way of working. You get like 50 domains, creates a website, hopes for the best. It's not what we're trying to do. So if you get into that task, and as soon as you get into that task, you start creating the other tasks. Say, we need the name, we need the domain name. So the name I already have, for example, in the TEDx Peniche, I have a task called Brainstorm Theme for the event. So you can start a task in the space project, brainstorm name for the project, and how that can happen, and how can you publish. Do we do it online? Do we do it in a post with a poll, or we do a facilitated session online? This type of stuff. Yeah.
So basically, when I write this blog post, for example, it's just a general overview of the project. Like, for example, the story, who are the people involved, what are we planning to do? And a lot of that information is already in the document, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds good for me.
You start, and what's going to happen is, like, I don't have enough this, and you would start making questions, and those questions are going to help us.
All right.
Good task for you. It's good. We should go. It's here.
And you've been working for days now, Pedro. Thank you.
Any questions?
I think it was a little bit longer.
What?
You speaking?
Yeah.
I didn't know well. It's
not the collaboration. We did quite well in the beginning, right? Half an hour.
Then you forgot.
well, then we all went off on. Our energy drove us to the co-working space. So.
No elbows. I didn't get any elbows.
That's true.
Nobody said.
No. We were excited. We were working the place with an awesome cafe and loads of good food.
Yeah, with the yoga place too.
Yeah, I was just googling yoga Peniche to see whilst we were chatting to find out what other yoga.
What did you find? Did you find Balili House?
No, I just found the yoga center Peniche. Just checking out.
That's pretty much the only one. Then there's.
Oh, that's the one in Farrell, right?
Yes.
Is it?
Okay.
Yes. But then there's, I think, almost all the
hostels and surf camps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's the only yoga school.
Yeah, it
actually, I'm not sure if they have that one. Where I went to college as well. Did they have that one?
I think I saw that I think I saw that logo they have somewhere in Peniche, but I'm not sure.
Feeling as well.
Yeah.
Also, there's like yoga on the beach, yoga on the cafe by the beach. You know.
Yoga on
surfboards, paddleboards, on rooftops, on
So
cafes.
much to do.
But one thing that I never saw in Peniche was any big event or any big class ever.
Mm.
Even if it was a well-promoted event, then I saw the pictures, maybe 20 people.
I wonder if that is in the market for it. Or,
I think it's like everybody that I talk are into yoga. Everyone is. So
there is.
what's happening? You know?
Okay.
But I go to classes sometimes. Saw a few classes. Tika went to classes in Caldas and they're horrible. They're horrible.
Yeah, absolutely not known.
Depends also on the type of yoga.
Yeah. Well, let's hold the thought. It's like, if you think about it, or if you see opportunity, or then locally, then we can discuss it more.
Well, I hope, at least in my dreams, the space will have enough space to have yoga classes. Of course,
Yes.
I'd really love that.
have a yoga school.
And I'd really love to
So-
do it with
Yeah.
as well. And the different types of classes. Vinyasa and Hatha was my kind of thing. But yeah, having a place where we could have that would be great.
Are you going to be a certified trainer after that? The one in Ibiza?
After September, so I do 2 weeks in May, and then I go back and do 2 weeks in September. So then I
Cool.
will be.
Perfect.
I'll be testing it out on you guys.
Exciting.
Yeah, so you always start going already a few students.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean,
I'll do it not too long with you guys. So,
And you can already start the form for the registrations. Get a few people. But like starting anything to do with a space to use like for classes or anything, we easily find those. Peniche has really good
okay.
places for that. Sports centers and things like that. But we would like to have our own multi-use space for classes. I was a dance teacher for a
In another life.
period of my life, and I always feel like there's no place to go and practice. I would like my kids to do certain things that we never have, like unschooled kids. Then they don't get the access to the gyms in the schools. They don't get those things. If you don't want to put them in football or basketball, then there's nothing else. Well, gymnastics is the best we found. Was really good. Some martial arts maybe, but we would like to have this. Like try things like, hey, we have at 6 a.m. yoga, at 3 p.m. there's a brainstorm happening there, and then in the evening there's relaxation and meditation.
And meditate. Yeah, I was going to say meditation.
seriously, almost every co-working space in Paris has a yoga space. It's that trendy.
Yeah. Everywhere. Yeah. Lisbon as well. There's no place without.
Really? Oh, I'm in.
That's good.
We've got to get Lois's husband on the real estate thing then, finding somewhere.
Oh my gosh. He's only been 2 days on the job. Don't trust him just yet.
Did you sell it yet?
Sorry?
Did you sell it yet?
I don't know. He can't even find an apartment.
You're not good at this.
Man, I don't think he's...
He's in the wrong job.
Yeah, so...
The kitchen boy.
Yeah. Let's see.
We just do good work to get you excited, and maybe him as well, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's try to do a good job.
Yes.
We are going anyway, so
Yeah. It's inevitable.
well, things can happen. All right. Bye.
All right.
Ciao. Yeah, yeah.
Bye, guys.
5 minutes.
Oh yes, yeah, we're staying for 5 minutes.
Okay. Bye.
Let's see if I'm still.
I'm gonna stop this, okay, Pedro?
Say ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. So,